Hello, and welcome to Replay Value. If I said to you powerful Attack on Titan theme, you'd probably instantly jump to, or the more famous, but we're not talking about that last one, at least not primarily. Because while those Linked Horizons songs certainly embody a sense of power in their instrumentation, hyping you up for what is likely another action-packed cliffhanger of an episode, for me they don't hold a candle to the thematic resonance of the first ED from Attack on Titan, Beautiful, Cruel World. There is a lot to unpack in the ED from a visual level, so I'm not going to get into lyric breakdown territory here. Though when appropriate, I will speak to how the song empowers the visuals. Beautiful Cruel World is the most important theme from Attack on Titan, because of how it allows the show to run the gamut on the emotional spectrum it attempts to hit, and how it brings its grandiose theming to the individual level. Attack on Titan's first OP, Crimson Bow and Arrow, and this ED could not be more conceptually different if they tried. Crimson Bow and Arrow is trying to get you hyped for the episode. It's attempting to make you excited and jittery and to get your heart pumping. And so it's fitting that the OP starts out of the gate loud, with a choir chanting, pulsing percussion, gripping guitar, bombastic brass, and any other alliteration that conveys how high intensity this OP is from an audio perspective. And the visuals match. Explosions, bright colors, fast movement, flashing lights, and it stays true to the visual style of the anime from a design perspective. Eren in the OP looks like Eren in the show. And normally that wouldn't be remarkable, except that the ED goes in the complete opposite direction. Beautiful Cruel World starts off quiet and slow-paced, almost minimalistic in its instrumentation, as a piano is the lone accompaniment for the first 30 seconds. Then the slow drum beat comes in with soft violins, before a complete tonal shift to this flowing violin melody, an electric guitar riff, and drums beyond just hi-hatting and bass beats. There's a variance of emotions here. It begins melancholic, as though we're sad that the episode is over, or reflecting on any of the bad stuff that just happened, before we're brought up a little bit to remember the good stuff, or the general enjoyment of watching the show. And then resolution in the form of some of the stuff that made the OP so much fun to listen to, as though it's a reminder that we'll have another episode in just a week's time. Okay, that may be too meta, but I think it highlights the difference in tones the ED is trying to hit, as opposed to the single, "Let's go hype," that the OP is hitting constantly. And visually, the difference between the two is even more striking. The visuals here in the ED are muted. 3/4 of it is purely black, white, and gray. And even when color is introduced, it's in very muted tones. The visuals aren't snappy. They look almost rotoscoped at times with this blur effect that makes it look like the frames are bleeding into each other. The shots are slower. There are fewer cuts, with more focus being on connecting images through wipes and masking. And of course, from a design perspective, Eren in the ED doesn't look like his episode counterpart stylistically. The ED visually feels removed from the rest of the show, which makes it really striking. And when looking at the OP and ED as a package, I think you get a greater sense of the emotions that this story is trying to convey. Excitement and sorrow, courage and fear, larger-than-life conflict accompanied by individual strife. But let's take a look at the ED without the context of the OP, because the story it tells there is something special. The opening shot is this slow pan down from space, with stars and moons whizzing by as we further descend below a body of water, where a knife falls into the abyss before finally arriving in a forest. This descent is foreshadowing for the scale we're shifting to in regard to the narrative of the ED. What is a universal truth is going to be applied on a smaller scale. And we find that smaller scale as a young Mikasa runs across the forest bed. The title of the ED and the visuals relate primarily to episode 6, when we flash back to how Mikasa wound up living with the Jaeger family, and how that experience influenced her worldview. How she came to conclude that this world is beautiful, yet cruel. The first knife that we see during the descent is like the knife that the kidnappers hold before killing Mikasa's father. It's the thread in the background that she doesn't want to acknowledge, as matched by her thoughts when viewing the mantis eating a butterfly or her father having killed a bird. As she runs through the forest, we cut to another knife, this one bloodied. This is the second knife, and this one is the one that forces her to stop and consider that reality. as we see when we mask wipe to her standing in a field of bloodied knives. I would say that the second knife is the knife that Eren drops before he starts being choked by the third kidnapper, having already killed the other two. And this field of knives is all of the circumstances where killing is a natural part of this world. Indeed, the knives seem almost infinite. As these black globs, presumably blood, rise from the ground and blow in a multitude of directions, Mikasa stands there bracing herself. The knife she holds is not bloodied. This is the moment where she's considering Eren's words of having to fight to win. She hasn't killed anyone yet. And in this next shot, we pan up to see the goblets flying away from her, her scarf and coat peeling away and leaving a raw and older Mikasa. The scarf in her face is indicative of how Eren's worldview became her own, and her transformation, losing her coat and aging, is indicative of how this experience changed her. The scarf also getting blown away, I think, is foreshadowing for Eren's supposed demise, and maybe suggests that even without Eren, this universal truth would have made itself clear to Mikasa regardless. An alternative reading is that it's not the scarf that Eren gives her, but rather a random other scarf that was obstructing her ability to see the world clearly. Though to me this seems unlikely from a narrative perspective, even if it makes a ton of sense from a thematic one. Regardless, Mikasa's determined face makes clear the decision she made, as she did in episode 6. From there, we transition to two birds flying above and away, symbolic of freedom and littered throughout Attack on Titan, as Mikasa watches all by herself. This is also where the music swells, giving us a resolution to the more plodding, melancholic beginning. These two birds flying likely correspond to her desire to be with Eren, indicative as one of the birds is following the other, just like she follows Eren, and as Eren's desire is freedom, so too will she make her way there. As she watches these birds from the ground, she turns to see young Eren walking towards her, transforming into his older self. You could make the case that this is Eren returning to her, like he does in episode 8's hearing the heartbeat scene, or that this is the manifestation of her ideals, literally embodied by Eren. Or more literally, that the little kid who saved her life and gave it meaning is still the person she loves and cares about even as he's grown older. Almost teary-eyed, giving me the sense that this is parallel to the hearing the heartbeat scene, she makes her way towards him. This colored segment is the beauty of the cruel world, which shrinks as we pan our way past the two birds flying over the wall and back into the stars, our song resolving in a single violin note. Attack on Titan's first ED manages to perfectly capture the sense of its title and highlight a prevailing universal truth that it holds in the case of one individual. Even though Mikasa was battered by this revelation, she survived and came out the other side stronger and actualized. And when put in the context of the first OP, you find a strong emotional core to what might appear on the surface to be just another action series. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and comment with your thoughts, subscribe for more videos, and follow me on Twitter for my live analyses and future projects. Link in the description. We'll be back real soon with another video, but until then, thanks for watching.